Trump has been campaigning down in Georgia, and he's been playing all of his hits. He knows what goes over with his crowd, and so he spent a whole lot of his time vilifying and demonizing immigrants, which he's great at. And then he decided to take a shot at Joe Biden, because after all, Joe Biden scorched his ass in the whole State of the Union address, so he had to get in his jab, and he decided to make fun of Joe's stutter. And, of course, the crowd just ate it up.
Of the Union address, wasn't it? Didn't it bring us together? Remember, he said, "I'm going to bring the country together. I'm going to bring it together." No.
You know, folks, I could sit here for the rest of the day, and I could show you clips of Donald Trump mocking women, bragging about groping them, defaming the victims that he was found liable of sexually abusing. We could find clips of him mocking the handicapped and veterans and prisoners of war. But rather than focus on his lack of character, I wanted to show you this clip from Joe Biden where he is seen comforting a young boy who has a stutter himself. Check it out.
I'm Braden. Hey, Braden, how are you, man?
We're here because we stutters and we wanted to hear you speak.
Oh, man, come on. I tell you what, don't let it define you. You are smart as hell. Now, you really are. You can do that. Can I get a phone number for you and I can tell you what I used to do and how I would do it? Can you take his phone? Because there's about 25 stutterers I continue to work with. And I can tell you the things that help me. I know, by the way, the hardest thing is talking on the telephone, so I don't expect you to be able to do it. And it took a lot of practice, but I promise you you can do it. I promise you. And don't let it define you. You're handsome, you're smart, you're a good guy. I really mean it. Don't let it define you. And you know when I say I know about bullies, you know about bullies. The kids who make fun, it's going to change, honey. I promise you.
You know, when you compare the character of President Joe Biden with the character of Donald Trump, it's not even close as to who the decent human being is. Joe Biden, whether you agree with everything he says or not, is a decent human being and went out of his way to make a kid with a stutter feel better. And Donald Trump does nothing but yell and run this country down. With Joe Biden talking about how that him and Donald Trump had a completely different set of morals and values, and he's spot on here.
Trump and I have a very different value set, if it isn't obvious already. Mine is based on core values that have defined America. And the rest of the world looks at us that way. Decency, honesty, fairness, equality. But we all know Donald Trump sees a different America. An American story of resentment, revenge, and retribution. That's not me, that's not you.
Will never understand how Donald Trump duped people into believing that he was the one with the morals and the values. It will never make sense to me. How in the hell did he convince people in my part of the world that he was morally superior to anybody? It makes no sense to me, because I grew up in a very Bible Belt town. And I was told growing up, you know, you got to vote Republican because they're the lesser of two evils. In their mind, the Republican Party was the lesser of the two evils. And it didn't matter if the Bushes sent troops into Iraq based on lies. That didn't matter, because that was the lesser of the two evils when you put it up against Bill Clinton lying about his sex life. You couldn't have that. Oh, you can't have a man that lies about his sex life. You can't have a man that cheats on his wife. You have to have a man that has character, has morals and values, and has his family together and holds his family together. He's got to set examples for our children. And at least that's what they said back then. Every hillbilly preacher on every pulpit in every backwoods road in Appalachia got up every Sunday and screamed about how immoral Bill Clinton was, and we just had to restore family values back into Washington. And then along comes Donald Trump. And now those same preachers that used to stand up and tell me that about Bill Clinton, I'll never wrap my head around it. But that type of rhetoric does. Our children is watching it. They are paying attention, and they are emulating it. And now everywhere you go, you see flags with Trump's face weaved onto them somehow with "fuck your feelings" and all this stuff. And I stumbled across Biden talking about this.
Because the soul of the country is who we are. Look, you know, did you ever think, those of you who are over 40, did you ever think we'd be in a situation where we talk to each other like we talk these days? Why you see things that we see that no matter how tense things were, they were really tough in other parts of our history. When you ride down the street and there's a Trump banner with a FU on it and a 6-year-old kid putting up his middle finger. Did you ever say, no, I'm serious. Did you ever think you'd hear people talk the way they do? Look, it demeans who we are. That's not that's not America. Those of us who want to pull America back into the past and those who want to move it into the future. My lifetime has taught me to embrace the future. I mean it sincerely. Freedom, democracy, future based on the core values that have defined America. Honesty, decency, fairness, equality. Yeah. Just treating people just fairly. No, I really mean it. We don't always live up, but that's the American creed.
And the sad part about it to me is that the President of the United States actually had to stand up and say that out loud. Trump was going to catch on with this type of hate mongering. But I really didn't realize that the Christians and the churches would give him a pass for it. I really didn't see that coming. That's the part that I didn't see. I thought, okay, they won't be hypocrites about it. Okay, they actually do have morals and values. They'll say to me, yeah, we can't have Donald Trump, like we said about Bill Clinton. You know, Bill Clinton lied about his sex life, and Donald Trump has cheated on every wife he's ever had. I mean, just the fact that Donald Trump has been married more than once would have doomed him 20 years ago. I started seeing more and more flags, his face being weaved into every one of them. I remember seeing kids driving to work with flags that said, fuck your feelings. And I remember talking to some of these young kids about it, and they just thought it was funny. They just thought, hey, this is funny. They really didn't understand the politics of it. They really didn't understand the difference between a Democrat and a Republican. They really didn't understand how government works at all. It was just cool to them. So Donald Trump he's setting examples. I'll say that. I don't want to give him credit for being a leader, but he's setting examples for young people growing up. And the very people that used to argue with me and say to me that we couldn't have Bill Clinton have just swallowed Donald Trump hook, line, and sinker, and they're okay with it. And nothing he does is a deal breaker for these people. He can stand up and he can mock a man's stutter, and they will sit there and laugh and clap, and they will find a way to demonize Joe Biden for comforting a kid with a stutter. And there is no world where that makes sense.